What you are listening to is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in the squared circle. Both parties have agreed to dismiss their cases and have their disputes settled here in our forum, the Turnbuckle Debate.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Turnbuckle Debate, number 40. My name is Sneed.
I'm Chad.
And I'm the OG Fig Kid, the staple of the Turnbuckle Debate, Thomas Montalto.
And we have a special guest joining us again from our Pod Foundation family, Sheena from the CHICK FOLEY SHOw. How's it going?
Thank you guys. Oh, it's going good over here, man. Thank you guys for having me again. It's an honor to be back in the tavern. I'm stoked to have made the full circle, and now I'm back at the tavern. Two-time tavern guest.
Last time Sheena was on, I think it was episode 19, and now at episode 40, she's back.
Yeah. So every 20 episodes, I'll make a comeback and come back around.
It'll be like Mania every 10 years at the Garden.
Yeah, exactly.
They stopped that last time, no? 30 wasn't in New York.
It was in New Orleans.
Yeah. Streaks are meant to be broken.
They did 29.
That's when it all went wrong.
That's when it,
when it all started going downhill, when they got away from the Garden.
When you start changing shit.
Yeah. So?
Well, I mean, we all know the rules. Sheena, you've been here before.
Yep, I've listened to, I think every term, but I think I've listened to every debate, so I'm pretty familiar with the format at this point.
Yes. So I think it's time we just get into it. I think
we jump right in.
Are you guys ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, so our first topic of the evening, Bret Hart, better heel or better babyface? What an age-old debate this is.
This is Sheena's boy too. This is close to the heart. I'm
interested. Yeah, I'm interested to see where you guys fall on this argument, because I mean, I don't know. I love all iterations of Bret Hart. I'm totally biased, so this is not a good question for me because I love all things Bret Hart. I mean, I love Luther Root, Lonesome Dove, Bret Hart. I mean, he can do no wrong in my eyes. So heel, face, TV star, doesn't matter. Simpsons.
Was he on Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman?
Was he on Dr.
Yes,
Quinn?
He was.
Yes, he was.
Wasn't that on a cover of WWF magazine when he was?
I'm gonna have to look up his IMDb. For some reason, I must have blanked that out of my my mind. Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
I thought
I love that version too. If he was, I love that version of him too.
She's never even seen it, and she loves it.
I don't have to see it. I'm gonna say I like him as a babyface, though. I just feel like when I think of Bret, I think of a babyface. I just feel like, he was a huge star internationally. So even when he was a heel here in the United States, he was still beloved everywhere else. I mean, he was a hero in Canada. He was a hero across the pond. I mean, those people never gave up on Bret Hart. It was just us here. And even people here still loved Bret Hart. But I mean, you had to kind of love to hate him because of all his heel antics and his anti-American. Well, not anti-American. He said he's not anti-American. He's pro-Canadian, so his pro-Canadian antics. But, any guy that you could have your kids look up to, I just feel like he's just this white meat baby face, just good role model in the wrestling business. Came up at a time when the steroid trials were just, finishing and all of that kind of stuff, and kind of changed the landscape of WWE or WWF at the time, from big, huge monsters to, he kind of changed the shape. He gave little guys a chance, even though he's not super small. He's not a beast like Warrior Hogan, So I got to go with babyface Bret. What about you guys?
I'm going babyface. You hit the nail on the head for me. Even when he was supposedly at heel, he was still being cheered everywhere else. He didn't do really much different. He was still at the core, he was Bret Hart, which was what made him great.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm going with the face. I loved him as a good guy. That's what when I think of Bret Hart, that's what I think of. All those title runs, everything he did, his feud with Austin, and I'm going with the face. I have to go.
I think that's what made him a great heel too, is the fact that he was such a beloved babyface that when he did turn heel, it was just like, what? Like our hero, he's a heel now. And I think it kind of just really pissed you off that you had to hate this guy now. So I think that kind of added to his heel persona. I just feel like, the fact that he was such a good babyface allowed him to be such a good heel.
Yeah, when I was a young fan, I had I never went to WWE shows because they didn't come to our local area. We had WCW and NWA shows.
Mm-hmm.
But I would daydream about being the kid that got the shades.
Oh, I think everybody dreamed of that.
Coolest thing. But for me, it's heel Bret. There was nothing better. I loved it because everyone was on the nuts of DX.
Yeah.
And when he was it was that turning point in wrestling when it was no longer cool to like the baby face. Like the baby face almost turned into the bad guy, and the more,
because it was cool to be edgy. You know what I mean? Like nobody wanted this Puritan as their hero. They wanted the edgy people that were telling you to suck it and doing, the middle fingers and all of that kind of stuff, Exactly.
And I think that's what was different about his heel turn too. It's like everybody talks about the double turn with Stone Cold, but to me, it wasn't a turn that was dictated by an action that he did. Like he turned on someone or he did a despicable act. It was like one of the first times I can remember a heel turn truly just being by the attitude of the fans changing, not because of him turning on a partner or him doing something. It felt like it was just this organic shift in culture. Like the anti-hero now became the hero. So, some of those promos he was cutting during that time when he was the hero in Canada, and then he would come here and just be hated.
Oh, I love his heel promos. He did some hilarious heel promos. The most famous clearly is the Pittsburgh promo where he told if the United States was getting an enema, we would stick the hose right here in Pittsburgh.
Exactly.
And I absolutely love that. And he used to call Vader like a fat tub of goo, and just like these like horrible things, that you just didn't expect to come out of Bret Hart's mouth. I love some of his heel stuff.
And it was heel for me because of that. Like I picked heel because of the promos and because of the way that we saw the change from Bret babyface to Bret heel.
Yeah.
And to hear him use the word shit in promo.
Oh, I know.
It was a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, it was. And and it got us the reformation of the Hart Foundation, which is beloved. You know what I mean? Like even though it was a shorter run, it was just such an awesome faction. I mean, you just look at those guys and you're like, these guys are freaking money. And when he started out, he was a heel with the Hart Foundation with Jim the Anvil Neidhart. I mean, they were a heel tag team. So I think people forget that he had those early heel roots before he became the beloved babyface. So he's good on both sides. Again, I love the babyface, but I'm not gonna slam heel Bret at all.
There was something. Go ahead, Tom.
You go all the way back to WrestleMania 2, and him and Neidhart were going after Andre. They were the last three men in that battle royal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge to go back that far to be a part with Andre. So.
I know, isn't it crazy to think that the Hart Foundation has been around that long and Bret's been in the business that long, because you think of him as like this new gen guy, but I mean, he's been around since way before that.
Yep.
When he did the kick on Bad News Brown, when he kicked him in the back of that was awesome.
There's something about his confidence to me. When he's a baby face, it comes off as just this true virtuous confidence.
Yeah.
But when he's a heel, he doesn't change it at all. But the confidence then takes on this arrogance. And it's like there's not a lot of change he has to do to tune it up. But it's just the whole package around it makes it seem so different when he's under two different heel.
Yeah, because he was never, even in his heel run, he was never like a loud, obnoxious, Triple H or Shawn Michaels type, promo cutter. Like that just wasn't his style. He would stay composed, but just the way that he would say things and the context of his promos was it made it a lot easier to hate him,
And that's when you realize just how good he was, that he just did it in a way that other people didn't. It was amazing to see, he was good. He was a face for so long. So to finally see him be heel again was just, perfect.
I just loved how he would kiss the title before, when he was defending the title, he would just give it a kiss. And I just felt like that was just such a minor thing that he did just to show that this is meaningful. I want this title back, he's I'm going to fight my ass off to get this title back. And it really made you excited for the match because you knew Bret Hart was about to go in there and give you every single thing he had. And clearly he's, I mean, in my opinion, the best technical wrestler there is. So you knew you were in for a good match whenever Bret was like tuning up like that.
And it's crazy to think about the run he had during that era. You're coming out of the new gen, and we all have love for that era, but it was like occupational gimmick territory. You know, there was a lot of silly stuff, but he's coming out of that. And I feel like the run of storylines he had was really responsible for pulling them out of that kind of shitty time. You got to think of the Stone Cold, the DX feud, the Shawn Michaels feud, obviously, like those back-to-back feuds really just like changed the entire direction of the company.
I fully agree. I mean, and you know, people will argue that like, you know, Bret didn't pull numbers and all this stuff, but all that is BS, dude. Like Bret was a freaking draw. I mean, it was just like he was carrying the company on his back. You know, he was the chosen one. And people can say what they want, dude, but Bret was the best part of the new gen.
And props to him for not being a John Cena type and taking, he was a beloved babyface, and for him to like be okay and not try and put a stop to a heel turn, that shows a lot, because
he didn't want to be a heel. I think Vince convinced him to be a heel. He didn't want to do that heel turn because he was afraid he was going to lose like merch sales and stuff, you know? So he didn't want to be a heel, but Vince talked him into it. You know, I mean, it ended up being good, but even as a babyface, like, I just feel like any guy like Bret was looking to elevate the people that he worked with. You know, it didn't matter who it was. Like, you look at a guy like Owen, you know, Owen comes in and he gets like catapulted into main event status just for working with Bret. You know, their chemistry was just off the charts, and Owen is an amazing wrestler, you know, no doubt, but putting him in there with Bret and having their feud, like it awesome. Just elevated Owen to the next level, you know? And I feel like that's what you get when you work with a guy like Bret. You know, it really takes whoever he's working with and he's trying to push them and make them better.
And same thing with the 92 match at Wembley Stadium with Bulldog.
Baby boy. He carried that match because Bulldog was like shit faced, you know. He was out of his mind. So yeah, the fact that was such an bender. Yeah, he's like, I'm fooked, you know. Yeah. So the fact that match was as good as it was, yeah, that was all freaking Bret.
Yeah. I have a question for you guys. Okay, so we know how Vince is with Cena. He didn't want to turn him, you know, he never went heel. And I'm honestly shocked that Roman Reigns went heel. I thought he was going to be forced down our throats. Do you think if Shawn Michaels wasn't in the wings and Vince wanted to push him, do you think they ever would have turned Bret Hart? Do you think he ever would have like convinced Bret to be a heel, or would he have just ridden that Bret Hart babyface into the ground?
I think at that point he would have just ridden it into the ground because he was the face of the company and there really was nobody else.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Well,
all right. Well,
I think that's it.
You guys, do we need to take a tally real quick? I say babyface.
Babyface.
Heel.
Both two bad Chads are going with the heel turn.
Gotta go heel.
I love my heels, man.
I do too.
Let me ask you before we move on. You just really quick. Do you think if Piper's run in the 80s was now, he would have been cheered?
I think if it would have happened in the 90s, he definitely would have been cheered.
Exactly.
You're saying like modern time, Tom?
Yeah.
Like now?
Like when the fans started cheering for the bad guys. I think that Piper, he would have been loved.
I think fans now are going back to cheering the people they need to cheer and booing the people. Because if you look, when the Young Bucks and Kenny come out, they're getting booed out of the building, which is shocking to me.
But I think a lot of that too is a product of the pandemic era too. I think people are just happy to be in and like participate, and they're not trying to take over and ruin matches and things like that. So they're being a little bit, they're walking on eggshells for now. Once everybody's back and they start to feel a little more comfortable, I think we'll get back to a little bit more of the like fan takeover style audience that we know and love. But I think everybody's just kind of just like, hell yeah, I'll boo who you want me to boo. I will cheer who you want me to cheer. And
just let me be a fan.
Just let me be a fan.
Just let me be here.
As Sam Roberts says, boo the bad guy.
Boo the bad guy. I'm here for that.
Yeah. It's fun to boo the bad guy.
Yeah.
All right. So our next topic, Sheena, this is the topic that you brought to the table, which is a very good topic.
Yeah.
Was Bray Wyatt properly used in WWE? And we know Bray was just released. Shockingly, I think everybody can agree that was a
Has
shock.
it been confirmed if he requested it or?
So everything that I've read said it was budgetary reasons.
That's what I've read.
But to me, that, I mean, clearly I have no inside information whatsoever. But in my heart, I'm like, that just doesn't make sense. WWE coming off their most profitable year ever, and Bray Wyatt being somebody who tops out merch sales, you know, and I'm sure they pay him a metric boatload. I don't know exactly what his contract is. So I know he's getting paid a lot, and he's not been on TV since WrestleMania. I know he's had some, you know, personal issues and whatnot, but it just doesn't seem like to me that you would just be like, you know, I mean, I don't know if Nick Khan's that just cold hearted where he just looks at the numbers and it's on a spreadsheet and he's like, oh, this guy's at the top, like, you know, cut this guy. But to me, it just doesn't make sense that they would release a guy like Bray for budgetary reasons, especially knowing and seeing how accepted like a guy like, you know, Malachi Black is in AEW, you know, like seeing these and potentially Daniel Bryan and all of this stuff like going to AEW. I can't imagine that they would just want to hand AEW Bray freaking Wyatt, you know. I mean, they're not handing him Bray Wyatt, they're handing him Wyndham, but still, you know.
Right. I think to your original debate question, at first I was like, okay, I think they did use him right initially, but I think I'm changing my opinion on the spot. Now that I think about it, Bray seems like someone, and I might be wrong, but from the outside and things I've read, he seems like someone who is very creative and very, he has his hands in his characters. From what I knew, The Fiend was out of his mind. He brought that to the table.
Yeah.
So when I think of that, I'm like, it seems like he's the one that brings them these cool concepts, these cool ideas. And I'm sure they expound upon it and make it grand and make it cinematic and bring in all the production behind it. But as far as the nugget of the idea, it's Wyndham's. And then he brings it to WWE and it has this awesome build. They always have an awesome build, an awesome intro, like the hype of the Firefly Funhouse, the hype of the Wyatt family coming in. And then once they arrive, it's got like a 2-month shelf life. And then it starts getting worse and worse and worse. And that's WWE booking. So I don't think they used him right. I think Bray could have been one of the biggest stars they've had, even bigger than what he was.
He could have been, but my counter to your argument is like, yes, Bray has this creative genius mind. And I mean, he's an artist in every aspect of the word, but I feel like maybe his character never got fully realized because there are limitations to what can be done on live television. You know, he's such a creative genius that it just feels like maybe what he had envisioned got watered down based on the limitations that they had for production or, you know, what they were capable of doing and that sort of thing. You know, the booking is one thing in its in and of itself. I feel like, you know, I'm going to go to the side that he was used properly. I feel like he got his due. I'm never going to say anyone that has had as like multiple WrestleMania matches, been a title holder in WWE, had as much television time as Bray Wyatt has had, that they didn't get their due. You know what I mean? There's lots of guys who would kill to have just like have a fraction of what Bray Wyatt has had, you know? And he got to come in and work with every big name in the company. I mean, he came in on his first night and challenged Kane, a legend in the business, and, you know, ended up beating Kane in his first match. You know, I mean, that was just like, whoa, you know, and started the feud with, you know, John Cena, which was huge. Clearly we know how that ended. You know, I feel like there should have been another ending. But I just feel like they've allowed him to do so many things and bring so much to the table. But I also feel like maybe that character where it kind of lost me sometimes is that he always had this, even with, cult leader Bray, like Waylon Mercy style Bray, even the Fiend, I never gathered with his character that why would he want to be a title holder? Like they would put him in the main event picture with the title holder, but to me, it never really connected because this guy is like, he's trying to bring down the machine. He doesn't want people worshiping false idols and, people following these people. And it just seemed like to me, why would he want to carry this, trophy for the exact thing that he's fighting against, So I feel like sometimes maybe that's where there was like a disconnect. Like, why does this guy want to be the champion, Yeah.
And that's in the booking. Like, I agree. Like the Undertaker, you think about how great the Undertaker is. He's had 5 or 6 title reigns. Like, it's not like he held the belt a lot over the course of 30 years. He didn't need the belt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I wasn't happy with his book, and I thought they put the title on him way too soon.
Yeah.
And then you build him up, and then, you have Seth Rollins destroying him and burying him with chairs and hitting him with toolboxes, and he gets up like it's nothing. And then you fast forward to a couple months later, and Goldberg beats him in a minute.
Yeah.
And that destroyed any momentum. So, like,
nobody
there,
that worked with the Fiend ever came out looking better for it. I think that's another thing to note is like anybody, like, because the fans were so like vehemently behind the Fiend. I feel like if you worked with him, like Seth Rollins, Seth Rollins had to turn heel after he faced the Fiend because of the freaking heat that he got, from that match, which that match was booked terribly, but it just feels like, and even Braun, Braun was like, he kind of like went on the shelf after he had that swamp match or whatever with Bray. It's just, I don't know. His character is so nuanced. And I don't want to say that, like, it's hard for me to say that they used him properly because there's definitely some forks in the road in his like WWE career that I feel like could have went another way and really pushed the envelope for him. But I also feel like it's stupid for me to say that they didn't use him properly. And the guy literally was on tons of pay-per-views, sold the most merch. I mean, he put butts in seats, so clearly they were doing something right because people wanted to see him.
Yeah, and I think they did. I think they used him right until they put him in the title picture.
Yeah,
I think that was, and when they put him in the title picture, it lost a little bit of something for me because I didn't believe that he needed it.
And once he lost to Goldberg, everything was derailed. He never picked up the same momentum he had before once he lost to Goldberg.
I think the Fiend was set up to fail. It's one of those characters where when you're getting those Firefly, Mr. Rogers vignettes, and we didn't know what it was, and there was those little hints of the pentagram, and before we ever knew what the Fiend was going to be, it was very cool. It was very like, ooh, what is this? Where's this going?
Yeah.
And then when you see the Fiend and how crazy he looks, it's like, oh, this is a cool, wild new character. But then it's one of those things too. It's like once he's in the ring, it's just a dude in a mask.
Yeah.
Like the vignettes and the supernatural stuff around him outside of the matches themselves, it was all fun, but it's wrestling. So everything's leading up to a match. And when you get to that match, it's just a dude in a mask. So you could never like
fully suspend your disbelief.
Yeah. And see, the Undertaker, it was different. I don't know how he managed to ride that supernatural storytelling into a match. And then I think there's something to say, and I've heard criticism before, but Bray, while being a good worker, he's not the Undertaker in the ring, so it's, there's a level of, I don't know. The payoff, the juice was never worth the squeeze with Bray. I feel like it never.
Well, I feel like too, he needed to be a novelty. Like, think about back when he was, cult leader Bray, a Wyatt family Bray. They would literally, like, on Monday night, bring him out and let him cut like a 5-minute long backstage, pre-recorded promo or whatever. And they did that every single week. And eventually you get tired of seeing him. You're like, oh, here's Bray saying all this, like end of the world type shit again, and it just kind of loses its freaking luster after a while. And I feel like they just didn't know how to book him. So they would just let him, and he's such a good talker and such a good promo cutter that it was easy for them. It was lazy booking for them to just say, hey, you're going to cut a backstage promo, instead of actually doing something that like furthered the storyline. And I think that wore a lot of people out.
Yeah, I want to get your guys' thoughts on So when he was released, Mickey James commented on the tweet, and she says, so it says WWE's come to terms on the release of Bray Wyatt. Well, she responded and says, I think what you meant to say was, quote, thank you so much for coming up with such an incredible gimmick time and time again. One so cool and over. We didn't know how to book it right. So we just gave it to someone else so we can still make all the money and let you go.
I think that's unfair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's unfair to Alexa to put her in that spotlight and for because I mean it's inevitable that all the haters are going to come for Alexa now, and this is totally outside of her control. And people were so into Alexa when she was with Bray, when she was with the Fiend and starting to become this like Fiend character. And even in the swamp match when she appeared to Braun, people were like, oh my God, is she Sister Abigail? Like, what's happening here? People were so into it. So for them to just say like they cut Bray and then we're like, here, Alexa, you can have this gimmick. I feel like that's an unfair judgment of what actually happened.
Yeah,
I feel like it's pretty accurate.
Really?
I mean,
Elaborate.
Where's he been? And now she's going on with it. He's gone.
I mean, she's going on with it, but I mean, what are they supposed to do? They're just supposed to like cut Alexa back. They've invested so much time with her. I mean, she's been on TV with Shayna and like her Lily, and then the Alexa's Playground or whatever it is. Like they've invested so much now at this point, and she's kind of carried that Fiend legacy. Like, and that gave us hope that he was coming back. We were like, well, surely to God he's coming back because they still are doing this supernatural Alexa thing. And whether or not I like the supernatural Alexa thing, I mean, I'm not so into it. I mean, especially after Money in the Bank, I was like, this is kind of weird. I don't really like where they're going with this, but I just feel like for them to saddle her with all the guilt saying that they're just, and I mean, how many Alexa's Playground shirts are they selling? They're acting like Alexa's just like cashing in all this merch and like putting butts in seats. And I mean, she's not. So for them to be like, oh, this character was so amazing that we just gave it to someone else to keep making money off of it. I mean, that's BS.
No, because she was a part of it when he was there. It's not like, hey, let's pass it off. And I don't think they can I wouldn't put it past WWE to do this because they do it all the time, but for them to just kill her gimmick and have her start over, I'd be like, wait, she was just in the playground.
Exactly.
You can't do that, but I wouldn't put it past them. I don't know if they'll do this, but I really wouldn't put it past them if they pulled a Razor Ramon Diesel.
Oh, you think?
And trot someone out in a Fiend mask.
Can you imagine? They would burn that place to the ground. The fans would riot. I mean, it would be done. You think there was trash and like bottles being thrown at Matt Cardona after he won the GCW championship? Like that would be nothing compared to what would happen if they trotted out a fake Fiend.
Just find a guy similar body type. He doesn't have to show his tattoos. He can go long sleeve.
Yeah,
keep the jacket on.
Oh my God! Totally what if they just put a mask on Keith Lee and brought him out there?
No.
That poor guy.
For a day or two after he was released on the roster, it still listed the Fiend. Bray Wyatt was removed, but the Fiend was still there, and then they actually pulled it down about 2 days later. So I don't know what that means.
I'm telling you, if Alexa stays around long enough, I would not be shocked if we start seeing hints of a Fiend return.
I hope that happens.
I don't think it will be a direct Fiend ripoff, but I can totally see them going the direction of bringing in another supernatural entity. You know what I mean? Like her like channeling someone, and then like all of a sudden like they do all these hints for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then somebody shows up and they're like, her master or whatever.
I'm a massive horror movie fan. It would be like the Fiend, but in a new body. The same guy, but he's possessed this new person.
Exactly. If Mike Myers can change his mask for every movie, then the Fiend can just come out and whatever the hell he wants. We just call whoever the Fiend. If the Fiend is just the entity,
Exactly.
Or is it like we spoke about the other day? Is it Peacock or somebody having a say, and WWE is trying to clean up the supernatural stuff? There's really, other than Alexa, there's not much left. They've kind of stripped Karrion Kross of that, so You know,
I-
that's kind of true too. That's not a bad call, to be honest. I mean, I don't think that. I mean, Peacock knew what they were getting into when they got WWE. I think they knew they were getting the Fiend. I mean, he was like one of the biggest megastars in the business.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's definitely not a bad shout. That they would maybe they tried to water down the Fiend character even more, tell him to reel it back a little bit. Like you can't be setting people on fire on Peacock. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're not going to have you doing that.
They're changing the past, so who knows what they're trying to do to the future.
Revisionist history. So yeah, I can totally see them being like that, and then the Fiend or Bray just being like, hell no, I'm not watering this down, and then that be kind of being where they split ways.
I just hope we still get the burnt Fiend figure, man.
Yes,
we definitely are. Yeah, we certainly are, because I mean they gave us the Zelina Vega figure after she was canned, and then they gave us. I mean, we're getting Braun, so yeah, we'll definitely still get that figure. It's gonna be sick.
I hope so. I can't wait to see him do a podcast. I hope he does one with Jericho or Renee or someone.
He will.
That's what I look forward to.
I wonder, because with Tommy and Alistair, Malachi, whatever you want to call him, and Bray, these are two people that are extremely into their creative process, and they bring these ideas to the table, and they fight for their ideas. And it worries me, and I hope this isn't a trend we see. It worries me that they're eliminating the people that push back against creative and bring their own ideas. I hope they're not just trying to make a company of yes men that just take the script and don't have their hands. Roman is kind of an island in and of himself, just because Paul Heyman is so hands-on with the Roman Reigns storyline and character.
Yeah.
But outside of that, you have a lot of people that are just kind of towing the company line. And when you're getting rid of the Alistairs and the Brays, these uber creatives, it's troublesome to me.
Yeah, I can see that, where they want everything just sanitized through the WWE process. Like they want it to be so WWE-ized that they don't want anybody coming with their own ideas. I can see that. That's unfortunate though, if that's the direction going forward.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it's time.
I think we move on. Are you guys ready to move on to the final topic of the evening?
Let's go, baby.
All right. So, final topic of the evening. If Adam Cole leaves WWE after SummerSlam, is there room for him on the roster in AEW?
Did you say when? Oh, no, you said if. But
I said if Adam Cole leaves. So, kick it off, Tom. Apparently, you think he's gone.
You got some feelings on this.
Hey, listen, there's been rumors out there. He's been denying contract after contract. He sees all his friends having fun over in AEW. His buddies are there. He is gone. He is done with WWE, and he will be all elite before you know it. And of course, you've got a whole nother hour of Rampage. There's plenty of room for him over there. The way they balance Dynamite, they're going to balance Rampage the same way. Bring him over, baby. Bring him over.
This is me doing my Forrest Gump wave. Bye, Adam.
Bye,
Adam. He is out of there.
He's out.
Yeah. And honestly, this isn't me just being an AEW mark and saying, bring them all to AEW, because I do have worry. God, they're getting so many people. How are they going to use them? But my thing is what else does he have to do in NXT? There is nothing else, and he's done it all.
And you know what? This sounds really terrible. And obviously, again, I have no insider information, but I can totally see. Well, actually, I don't know if this will happen, but in my mind, I'm seeing Triple H being like, dude, I'm going to tell you right now, you're a big fish in NXT, but you go up there where Vince is at. He's not going to see you as shit. You're too small. You don't got the look, for him. He's not going to use you. So you may as well, if you want to work and not just work for the money, if you're not just trying to cash out, not that, the AEW cons don't have bankrolls to give people, but, I think you need to go somewhere where if you're planning on wrestling and doing the best work of your career, you need to go somewhere else, because there's no place for him on the main roster at all. No, but there's definitely a place for him in any other wrestling promotion in the world, And I think it's funny how people will just be like, there's so many crossovers and speculated crossovers for AEW right now. And, people are like, oh, are they going to be able to use them right? Where are they going to put these people? It's getting saturated, blah, blah, blah. It's just all ex-WWE guys. But like, who cares? Like, who gives a shit?
You.
If we get good wrestling on TV every week, like those are the people that you were cheering that you wanted on WWE TV, and now you're bitching because they're going to AEW where they will potentially get TV time and you get to see them wrestle in the capacity that you've been bitching that wanting to see them wrestle since they got there. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me, so who cares if they start filtering in from WWE? Like, if anything, WWE talent, like they have the best wrestlers in the world. Like, they're going to come out and show out and elevate AEW to like new heights.
You are dead on balls accurate. When you talk about the Triple H conversation with Adam, because my thought is there's two guys who just recently within the last year or so went up there who are prototype Vince guys, Keith Lee and Karrion Kross.
Yeah,
they are built just like Vince likes them. They had great entrances, great in-ring, and what happened? Nothing. Now you send a guy with the stature of Adam Cole up there. Good luck, buddy.
Good luck.
It's gonna be.
It ain't happening. It ain't happening.
No, and the beauty of him going to AEW. Dude, there are so many built-in storylines.
Yeah.
He's instantly in the elite storyline. Like you could do a who does the Bucks follow? Kenny or Adam?
or Adam Cole. Yeah.
Yeah. The Bullet Club history, like there's so much built in there.
Well, as far as they know, Adam Cole is dead. Like then they killed Adam Cole off. So they're like, he's back from the dead. They have no idea that he's been wrestling in this promotion and been the leader of a new faction for the past 6 years or whatever. Yeah,
they got to resurrect him on BTE.
Yeah.
Man, imagine that, man.
It'll happen because they had every time they do the my friends are dead. They're talking about him and Marty Scurll.
Yeah.
So
it's awesome. And Adam Cole is like just a leader. Everywhere he's been, he has been a freaking leader. I mean, he was like even what was their stable name at PWG, like the Mount Rushmore or whatever with the Bucks and Kevin Owens. Like he was a leader there. He was leader of the Undisputed Era. The only time he was like the Bullet Club was really the only time that there was not a definitive leader, but he was definitely an alpha in that pack. So he will fit in like a freaking round peg in a hole in AEW. He will be right there. And I would love to see him go against, like homegrown guys like Jungle Boy and Darby. And, I think Kenny will be a tough sell because sometimes heel versus heel doesn't really, and I don't want to see a babyface Adam Cole.
No.
Like there's no way I want to see a babyface Adam Cole. So sometimes the heel versus heel dynamic, kind of doesn't do it for me. But yeah, going against a guy like Jungle Boy or Darby or something, Daniel Bryan,
Adam Page.
Yeah.
Or Hangman. Yeah, Hangman would be amazing,
And he's he will keep that main event cred that he has in NXT and AEW.
Oh, yeah.
He'll be pushed to the moon, where in WWE, they wouldn't give him that top tier.
And they will acknowledge it. That's the one thing I love about AEW is like, they will acknowledge, I mean, they may not say exactly, like they're not going to be like, oh, he was a Triple Crown NXT champion, leader of the Undisputed Era. Like they may not say that, but they're going to acknowledge his accolades in other companies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to hide it. Like if he goes to Monday Night Raw, they're going to pretend like they've never seen Adam Cole before. They'll probably just call him Cole, and they'll act like he's a brand new guy on the block, and they will never acknowledge that he was like this, multi-time champion down in NXT. Whereas AEW, like he's going to come in with credibility, and they're going to be like, holy shit, it's Adam Cole, like, what's he doing here? And
it's
just give him the buzz right off the bat.
Yeah, when FTR came out and they had the jackets on, and they had the red star, the blue star for Raw and SmackDown, and had all the titles that they had held in AEW. It's a total nod to their WWE past.
100%. Yeah.
You gotta wonder what the hell WWE's offices are thinking of. First, Malachi Black, they never activate the 90-day no compete clause, and now nobody realized up until a couple of weeks ago that
Who's
Adam
paying
Cole's
attention?
contract. Like,
Who's got
you're
the
a
books?
major company. How do you not realize one of your top star of NXT for the last 4 to 5 years, you don't realize his contract is expiring. I don't think it would have helped. I think he was glad they didn't come to him. He was probably good. I don't have to decline anything. I'll just walk away and head to AEW.
When he's a real life babyface, because he agreed to extend like a short-term deal with him to work like through SummerSlam, you know, when he didn't really actually have to. So, but he was like, you know what, I'm going to finish this up. I don't want to like leave you guys hanging. So, you know, babyface moved the cinch just to be like, you know, I will finish out with you guys at SummerSlam. But it doesn't look like, based on what I read today, that he's accepted any offers. Like it looks like they've thrown some stuff at him and he's like, deuces.
I think he's doing a John Moxley and not even looking at them. Moxley got the envelope and never opened it. I bet you he's doing the same thing. He just wants out.
Well, Tom, you were talking about, you said, what are they thinking? I want to read a quote that Vince said during one of his calls. He was talking about AEW. He says, I don't consider them competition in the way that I would consider WCW back in the day. Not anywhere near close to that. And I'm not sure what their investments are as far as their talent is concerned, but perhaps we can give them some more.
Well, they're doing it. Adam Cole, Bray
Next
Wyatt.
day, he handed him Bray. So,
and I think there's more to come.
Yeah.
Well,
what a quote.
Sami Zayn's contract coming up soon.
Well, like I said, I told you guys before we started recording, like, you know, the thing that should absolutely like resonate through the entire locker room right now is that nobody back there is safe. If they will let Bray Wyatt go, it wasn't like with a group of releases. They literally just let Bray Wyatt go on a random middle of the week day, you know?
No, a Saturday. It wasn't even a middle of the weekday. It was a Saturday.
Oh, yeah, that's right. On a Saturday, on a weekend, you know? Like nobody back there is safe. Maybe Roman Reigns, maybe Seth Rollins is safe. But they literally were pushing Aleister Black, giving him this like storyline that was featured, like main event featured on weekly television, and just like cut it off at the legs, like didn't even give it a chance to start breathing and let him go. So it just lets you know, like, you know, Adam Cole is thinking to himself, well, I could go and take this contract with WWE, but they've showed me like they're not willing to keep people or be loyal to people. So why would I go there and then get stuck in like contract limbo hell where I'm just sitting backstage, not doing anything? And if WWE doesn't want to release me, they've proven time and time again that if they don't want to let you go, they're not going to let you go. Right. So you're just going to sit back there at catering, wishing you were wrestling somewhere. Granted, you're getting a paycheck, right? I mean, can't complain about getting a paycheck, but these guys want to wrestle, right? So he's thinking to himself, where am I going to go where they're going to show me the most loyalty? Like Vince ain't it.
Yeah. And it's crazy because I think, like you said, Sheena, by cutting Bray, you're saying that no one is safe. And I think no one is safe. Maybe Roman, maybe. But if he has this monster contract and it's ran its the head of the table things ran its course, The Rock doesn't agree to come back. I wouldn't put it past them at this point. They've been shocking me left and right, and it's crazy too because like you said, Tom, with you know they didn't extend the 90-day clause with Aleister from 30 to 90. They didn't realize Adam Cole's contract was coming up. They cut Bray Wyatt. It just seems like that company right now is a clusterfuck to me. Like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, and they're making it. I've never felt like I've always felt like they ran pretty like a good, like a well-oiled machine for the most part. And now it seems like they're getting too big for their britches, like my grandpa would say.
Yeah, Vince stopped taking his alpha brain. He's not as he's not as sharp. Yeah.
Well, I think this is a good time to promote the new t-shirt on prowrestlingtees.com/tavern. Go be a pawpaw, Vince.
Yeah,
go be a pawpaw, Vince.
Go be a pawpaw,
man. It's okay.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I told you guys this. I have a connection at WWE who told me the day before Aleister Black was released, they had him come in to do a photo shoot.
Isn't that crazy?
They had to know the day before. They had to know, but yet he was in there doing a photo shoot for them to.
You never know if they knew the day before. I mean, how many stories have we heard about Vince getting the script for the weekly show and just like before the show, just being like, nope, and like ripping the script up and like just shooting it on the fly. You know, they're crazy over there. I wouldn't put it past him to do a photo shoot and then Vince just have a bad night of sleep and be like, you know what?
He's gone.
He's gone. Yeah. This guy, get him out of here.
Yeah. But I mean, do you think, okay, kind of getting back to like the original question, just real quick, do you think if AEW were to bring Adam Cole in or a Bray. You know, this relates to both things that we're talking about. Say they bring in Bray and Adam Cole and say all the rumors are true and Daniel Bryan and CM Punk show up.
Mm-hmm.
Is this too much on their plate? Do you think they could still book things right and not let anyone slip through the cracks? Is it too much too soon?
I think AEW, one good thing that they do is they have a very like attitude era vibe about them as far as like crossing their storylines and not being compartmentalized. I think actually we talked about this on the last time I was on the show about how WWE is so like their storylines are very much in a bubble. You know, they don't really acknowledge the other people that are working in the same exact company. You know, if you're not in that storyline, you really don't exist in those people's world. Whereas AEW, like everybody is acknowledged and everybody kind of like weaves back and forth, and they're always planting little seeds here and there for future storytelling opportunities. So I feel like they have the potential to like bring people on TV and not immediately put them in a storyline, but plant seeds for somewhere down the line. You know, so I don't think they're going to like crowd people out per se. I think they're going to bring people in, get people hype, and then, you know, slowly build stories for future, you know, episodes and pay-per-views and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't think it's too much for them because they're, you know, like Sheena said, they're really good at, you don't have to have everybody on TV every week.
Makes you miss them.
They're really good at making you miss somebody, and they only have quarterly pay-per-views, and they have time to build those really big stories. And then you're going to have another hour of TV with Rampage coming up. That, you know, you're going to be able to fit a lot more in there also.
And talk about making a show that's in a pretty inconvenient time slot, Friday nights at 10.
Yeah.
And now you bring in all of this talent. And when you're spreading this type of level of talent across these two shows, now you're going to feel like, fuck, man, I gotta watch Rampage because Punk might be on there. Bray Wyatt might be on there.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think that's one reason for them to bring in this high impact level of talent. You know, this just like putting butts in seats talent, because they want people to watch. They know that time slot sucks. You know, they know people are not going to be watching that if they don't have a reason to tune in. So yeah, put those big stars over on Rampage too. I mean, granted, I want everybody on Dynamite because that time slot fits nicely into my life, you know, but yeah, I wouldn't be mad at catching up on some Rampage on Saturday morning and seeing what's going on, you know.
Definitely.
All right, Tom, you got anything else to say?
Tom's
before
just drifting off in the sleepy world right now.
No, I want to go watch Malachi versus Cody.
It's Monday, Tom. AEW's not on tonight.
Oh, that's right.
It's
last Wednesday.
Jesus,
what's wrong with
Tom? What is wrong with you?
Kayfabe, brother.
Tom's
Kayfabe.
all 6s and 7s tonight.
Well, Sheena, let everybody know where they can find you guys over on the Chick Foley Show.
You can find us at Chick Foley on Instagram. You can find our Twitter as at Chick Foley Show. My good buddy and co-host Marco runs our Twitter machine at Chick Foley Show. You can join our Foley fam at chickfoleyshow.com, and you can follow all of our Pod Foundation brethren, Extra Cooler Show, Turnbuckle Tavern, Turnbuckle Sessions, Pyramid Wrestling. All the goodness is over on at Pod Foundation on Instagram. So make sure you follow that as well.
Pod Foundation strong.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap us up for the evening. It's been a great time having you back on, Sheena.
Thank you, guys.
You're always welcome.
They're actual litigants.
Love kicking it in the tavern.
Wrong one.
Yeah, you're introing us.
We're doing the show
gotta
again.
outro us.
Here we go.
You said
Hero was making fun of Tom when Sneed is really the one that's all mixed up.
I'm sitting there thinking, who's talking over me, man? It's the intro. Tom, get your stuff in before we go.
Check out last week's Turnbuckle Sessions with Vince Russo. It's a can't miss episode. And follow me, Twitter and Instagram, the OG Fit Kid.
Court is dismissed.